A vivid experience. Yo, what's going on? It's someone that's no one, and welcome back to the 6th report in Deliriant Week. Today's report is coming from a deleted Reddit user. The drugs used were benzydamine and caffeine at a dose of 1700 milligrams, the route of administration orally. Prior experience includes alcohol and cannabis, and the setting in their room. So here for the 6th report in Deliriant Week, I had to bring back benzydamine, one of the more novel deliriants we've covered. If you don't know, benzydamine comes from other over-the-counters found around the world, and while it does cause delirious effects, one of the key attributes is that it does cause a degree of stimulation on top of this. There are many unique and varying effects beyond this though, but the substance typically leaves the user roughed up physically. Mentally, delirious effects seem to be more common with higher doses. The last benzydamine report was the longest report and one of the most vivid detailed experiences we've covered. I think that in this report, a similar accuracy is achieved, especially when describing the hallucinations. I'm sure everyone's going to love this one, so without further ado, let's dive right into this. Preparation. Dissolve 2 sachets of tantum rosa into 250 milliliters of 99% isopropyl alcohol. Mix thoroughly in container with lid. Pour solution into glass bowl, leaving all the salt behind in mixing container. Place fan and turn to high speed to blow air over solution in bowl while venting fumes outside. Remove from venting after 24 hours or after there is no liquid left, and leave uncovered in storage to dry for 2 to 3 days. Scrape white residue off glass and into a sealable container with butter knife/flathead screwdriver, leaving transparent gel behind. This method yields a very high concentration of almost totally salt-free benzydamine. Using this method, I was able to extract 4.88 grams pure benzydamine from 10 sachets. 1 sachet equals a half gram of benzy. Use gelatin capsules to eliminate bad taste and mouth/throat numbness. Benzy is a surface numbing agent. Experience report. Start. Dose: 1000 milligrams. 2 capsules chased with a Redbull. 10 minutes in. No bad taste or numbness in mouth or throat. Gel capsules are working as intended. 49 minutes in. No effects so far. 50 minutes in. I feel a slight warning that something is coming, but it seems like it's probably mostly just paranoia. 55 minutes in. Feeling an aura. Eyes seem to waver, and I have a heady feeling like sativa. 1 hour 5 minutes in. Eyes are suddenly dry. Heady feeling has intensified, and body is feeling slightly heavy. As I stood up, I instinctually went to unplug the wire to my headphones, except I'm using my wireless ones. It's a hallucination. 1 hour 10 minutes in. Difficulty concentrating. 1 hour 35 minutes in. Objects seem to be wavering, wiggling, or moving in my peripheral vision. I hear what sounds like music from the kitchen. My roommate must be back home, but when I go check, they're not there. No lights are on anywhere except my room. Starting to notice the classic emotional effects. Feelings of impending doom, anxiety, jumpy, fear, terror. Darkness intensifies all of the effects of deliriance, making water trips a significant emotional challenge. 1 hour 40 minutes in. Emotional effects intensifying. Constant feeling of someone or something behind my back. Auditory hallucination of breathing behind me. 1 hour 45 minutes in. I look at the edge of my brown desk, behind which is a white wall. I see in my direct vision, i.e., looking directly at the hallucination, what looks like air turbulence, if one could see such a thing. Tiny translucent ripples, whirlwinds, and currents of air. They appear close to the edge of my desk, then disintegrate after several seconds into a cloud of transparent, ghost-like ash. After a few minutes, I can see small translucent spiders going back and forth across the edge. If I look at one individual spider for long enough, it will disintegrate into the ash cloud. 1 hour, 55 minutes in. Massively difficult to concentrate / use words, hands shaking slightly. Very, very heady feeling. 2 hours in. More transparent spiders on the edge of my desk, like a busy street. Some of them are bigger now. When I look at a single spider, it starts to do weird things, like attack other spiders or shapeshift into a tiny deer or house, then disintegrate once again into an ash cloud. I stick my hand on top of the edge of the desk, and the spiders move over the top of my hand. 2 hours, 5 minutes in. Starting to see the first signs of the classic trails, streamers, streaks. If this is the main effect a person taking Benzy wants to see, they really shouldn't be taking Benzy. 2 hours, 10 minutes in. Feeling sudden chills and also fearful of things behind my back, I put on my jacket. In my peripheral vision, I start to see faces, heads, and hands in inanimate objects and textures. Some objects seem to be moving like spirits. A pile of faux fur in the corner of my room suddenly feels more threatening than anything else I've seen so far, and I don't know why. It appears as though feeling terror is not a choice during this trip, but something I must cope with. 2 hours, 20 minutes in. The hallucinated music from the kitchen now sounds like a podcast. My headphones are around my neck, playing music, but when I put them on my ears, nothing is actually playing. I feel physically exhausted. No stimulant effects so far. The spiders on the edge of the desk are now crawling away from the edge towards the keyboard, but fade out before getting more than a couple inches. 2 hours, 30 minutes in. Spiders are now crawling over the top of the mouse when I'm not directly looking at it. In the room, I now see black spiders in every dark corner, nook, etc. Wherever there is a shadow, they seem more real. 2 hours, 45 minutes in. Have been feeling random itches, tingles, and pinpricks for a while, but now I'm certain that I'm feeling tactile hallucinations. 3 hours in. A dark spirit appears. In the corner of my room, I see what looks like a fuzzy black leg of a very large spider curl in the corner of my shelf. Then another, now 4. Then 4 more on the wall opposite. They're actually long, jagged fingers. I'm looking directly at the small spectra as their head slides into view. Their eyes are like 2 bright spots in the shadow-like circle that is their head. Then it opens its toothed mouth in a silent roar, and rushes towards the center of the room, but disappearing far before it reaches me. It appears that bright light keeps away the darker hallucinations, but enables the more bright transparent hallucinations. 3 hours, 5 minutes in. I feel what seems like tiny spider legs crawling across my bare hands and socked feet, but nothing is visible. 3 hours, 35 minutes in. Starting to sober up. All effects are fading. 3 hours, 50 minutes in. Feeling 90% sober, as well as feeling more energetic. 4 hours in. Dose, 700 milligrams. 1 capsule, chased with a Redbull. 4 hours, 10 minutes in. At this point, I'm unable to distinguish between paranoid thoughts and actual hallucinations in my peripheral vision. 4 hours, 20 minutes in. I feel extremely dehydrated. The room seems darker than usual. I am feeling very warm suddenly. 4 hours, 25 minutes in. Head and body heaviness are slowly returning. The hallucination of the headphone wire to my wireless headphones twitches in my peripheral vision again. 4 hours, 45 minutes in. This last capsule had a small tear, resulting in a small amount of Benzy spilling out while swallowing. I know what people mean by the awful taste. Also, the back of my mouth and throat feel numb. 5 hours, 10 minutes in. More auditory hallucination. I'm now hearing conversations in the kitchen and whispering voices from the opposite corner of my room. The whispers seem to move like an invisible auditory cloud towards the kitchen. I feel as if the voice cloud brushes by my legs by mere inches. I notice I have to turn up the volume on my headphones by a lot. I'll regret that later. 5 hours, 15 minutes in. Feeling significant time dilation, as well as painful pinpricks all over. I can't tell if I'm just extremely dehydrated or if my numb throat is just making it difficult to swallow. Probably both. I feel dizzy. I notice much more vibrant trails. 7 hours, 30 minutes in. Much of the same effects as the first dose until now. I went to use the washroom and heard a swarm of bees buzzing inside the ceiling fan. 8 hours in. I'm getting physically exhausted, almost blacked out. Not sure if the cause is lack of sleep, started trip at bedtime, post-adrenaline fatigue, or high dosage. 8 hours, 30 minutes in. Reach peak. I see the most vivid hallucinations. Animals, spirits, lots and lots and lots of spiders everywhere, in every dark spot of the room, every shadow cast by my blanket, by clothes on the floor, inside pockets of my clothes. When I look at a single spider, it shapeshifts into a small rodent, then a cockroach, then a snake, then a lizard, then some other strange creature, without end. The spiders are now on my body, though only 2 to 3 at a time. Feet, legs, chest, arms, back of neck, ears, head. I feel tingles, pinpricks, and the occasional jabbing pain all over my body, all hallucinated. I look into the darkest corner of the room and see a very large spider with an army of tiny spiders on her back, likely hundreds, peek out from the corner and walk towards me, and I had a feeling as though it was coming directly for me. However, it turns back around after walking a couple feet and disappears into the shadows. 8 hours, 35 minutes in. Come down is taking much longer, and I'm still having episodes of vibrant hallucination and emotional effects that come and then subside like waves. 8 hours, 45 minutes in. I've been listening to music from the start up until now. Had to turn it off. Listening to music makes me feel more exhausted. Like I can physically feel the effort required to hear and understand the music. 9 hours, 15 minutes in. The lights brighten suddenly, a couple times, which is either a hallucination or pupil dilation. Other hallucinations and effects are still going on, though less vivid. I hear the sudden return of music/podcast in the kitchen. 10 hours, 15 minutes in. I went to get more water, saw a shockingly vivid hallucination in my peripheral vision of an adult person who looked like a cross between the Ring Girl and the Heath Ledger Joker, following me and peeking around the corners. They would disappear when I looked right at the corner, then poke their head, feet, body out a few seconds after looking away. Had to keep them behind me to not see them. 10 hours, 30 minutes in. I'm no longer feeling any physical hallucination. I feel very strong malaise, like a flu, and also have a migraine, including sensitivity to noise and bright light. I am now ready to fall asleep any second, but I hear and feel bugs crawling into my ear when I try to close my eyes for too long. 11 hours in. Hallucinations are subsiding. I'm able to change clothes and close my eyes without too much issue. 15 hours in. I kept jumping awake every 10 minutes, like I was falling or something touched me, or a loud noise. All hallucinations. I have only felt this fatigued a few times in my life. In the end, I'm only able to get 1 hour's sleep and then 2 consecutive hours sleep after waking up every 10 minutes for a while. I feel lingering tingles and spiders, especially on my bare feet, as well as lingering emotional effects. Trails are vivid, but they look different now than any other time. They appear as outlines of any bright light source after moving my eyes, like a ghost image or outline. My eyes feel really sore and swollen. The shape-shifting snake cockroach in the darkest corner of my room, which has been there since not long after my second dose, is still there, I think, but I'm not sure as I'm having trouble focusing my eyes on any dark spots in the room. I feel very dehydrated, but less so than before. Coconut water helped a lot. I was getting overhydrated. I can't remember how much water I drank in the last 11 hours, possibly 6 liters. Feeling less flu-like, more mild hangover sick. 15 hours, 40 minutes in. Time dilation gone for sure. I can't tell if the cockroach is still there in the dark corner or if it's just vision memory. I still can't focus on small dark things in my room. I hear very faint breathing in the corner of my room. I'm still getting the occasional tingle. I don't see any trails at all, even when dimming the lights, but emotional effects increase when doing so. I'm tired, but not nearly as exhausted as before. 15 hours, 45 minutes in. I hear distant talking in the corner of my room, but only for 5 seconds. 16 hours, 30 minutes in. I'm still feeling residual emotional effects and the occasional tingle/pinprick. Feeling vertigo, malaise, definitely not sober. 17 hours, 30 minutes in. Feeling mostly sober. Had a sudden rush of energy. The trip is over. After reviewing and editing my notes, I now know that I remembered everything in perfect clarity. This trip went pretty much exactly as I expected from my research, aside from the duration not being related linearly with dosage. Post-trip notes. 22 hours, 15 minutes in. The last several hours have been on and off with residual effects. Every time I think I'm totally sober, something in my peripheral vision makes me jump. That's the one constant and unending effect I feel, being extremely jumpy. I think when people call Benzy a stimulant, what they mean is that all of your senses are cranked up to 10. Sounds are super loud, any sudden movement, real or imagined, causes my brain to kick into fight or flight. When a cop car drives by me as I'm out walking briefly, I have to use every ounce of willpower not to bolt. I can see things at the far edges of my vision that I think aren't really there, though at this point I would hardly call them hallucinations because they're so far into the edges of my vision that I can't even describe their features in detail. Hard to say if I'm actually seeing things or if I'm just feeling residual paranoia. It seems like the larger the shadow, the bigger the monsters. I still feel like a horrifying monster is stalking me every time I leave my room and walk down the poorly lit hallway to use the bathroom. But I can only see the faintest idea of their shape at the far edges of my vision. I turn my bedroom light to low to make my room dark, and on my blanket, I see a humanoid face distorted into a hellish scream and a spider-like face, while elsewhere in the room, an insect and a couple monsters move and scurry about. Again, all of these things seen at the extreme edges of my vision. They are almost like waking dream forms due to being so blurry and indefinite. The border between fear/idea and image/scene thing is completely gone. 23 hours in. Benzy trails/tracers are back again. They're definitely easier to see in the dark by waving my phone back and forth. It seems like high contrast triggers tracers. 23 hours, 10 minutes in. Speaking of high contrast, I turn my bedroom light up from 10% to 100% and my vision explodes into vivid hallucinations of shaking, waving, floating transparent lines. They subside within 5 minutes. I see now, with my light on full, that my phone makes trails against the black bed, but not the white walls. 23 hours, 30 minutes in. It's almost been a whole day since the trip started, and I'm still feeling residual effects, as well as persistent nausea since my first meal post-trip. My eyes are getting sore from the light being so bright. I think I still have a lingering migraine. My chest hasn't stopped hurting since the end of the trip. I turn my light to dim and try to sleep, ignoring all the creepy crawlies at the edges of my vision that start to come out with the darkness. 24 hours in, I finally fall asleep. 34 hours in, it's now the next morning. I feel well rested and 100% sober. Conclusion. Benzydamine is not a recreational drug. Being delirious is not fun. You will not enjoy your trip. I cannot possibly fully describe all of the terrifying things I saw, felt, and heard during my trip, but I will remember it all forever. If you just want to see the shiny lights, don't even think about it. Benzy should only be used a few times in one's lifetime for spiritual/etc. reasons and by those who are prepared and informed.